Well, here's a follow-up to the DiamondBack DB380 that we got that we couldn't get rounds through. We did send it back to DiamondBack. We got our return here recently. It just says function barrel tight is the diagnostic code. Apparently they replaced the barrel. If you'll recall, the last video you saw, it was malfunctioning badly. We actually called, we opened a ticket on March the 4th with DiamondBack. It took a little while to get a call tag so that we could ship it to them. They kept telling us they sent it, we didn't get it. 2 or 3 days later I'd call back. We finally did get one. And they received the gun shipped to them on March the 14th. At that point we were told it would take about 3 weeks to get the repair done and get it back to us. As it turns out, it took more than 6 weeks. We didn't get it back until April the 30th. This is exactly how it arrived back. Just packed in a UPS Express box, and of course with this little bit of paperwork here. Now when we shipped it to them, they insisted that we put the lock on the gun and keep the keys. This is exactly how it came back to us. You see the lock is in here, plastic lock is here, and they sent us another set of keys. So now we have 2 sets of keys, but they didn't install the lock on it, but they had me install the lock on it, which I don't know, whatever. Never actually had to put a lock on a gun per their instructions to ship it back before. And then it just has this zip tie in here, which we'll go ahead and we'll pull out. Looking the gun over, I don't see any damage. I don't notice anything that appears to be unusual. I do know that they replaced the barrel. If you remember, the old one had a lot of scratches on it from running it, attempting to run it. And, you know, it's got the same serial number, so I guess that's good. And open it up here. It's clean and oiled. I mean, it's very, very clean. And I do notice that on the barrel, it seems considerably more polished than the other one. So what we're going to do is put it back together here and see if it will run. And it's unfortunate that we had a problem with it. DiamondBack did take care of the problem. I will give them a honestly, overall, I'd have to give them 4 out of 5 stars on customer service. I do feel like it could have been a little bit simpler to have gotten the call tag. I'm not sure who to blame that on, if it was UPS or they just weren't generating it. But the other one was kind of the lack of communication. We had to call them a couple of times to see what the status was, to get information. You know, if it's going to be 6 weeks, just tell me up front it's going to be 6 weeks. Don't tell me it'll be 3 weeks. I mean, they even sent a letter in the mail saying it was going to be 3 weeks. You know, just be honest and tell me the truth. So, wasn't a horrible experience, but I'd still had to give them 4 out of 5 stars for that. So what we'll do is, this was the worst offending ammo that it was sensitive to, this MagTech. And we're going to load a few rounds of it and see if it will run it. Now this should be a very simple test, because before it was a challenge to get it to run 1 in a row. So if it'll fire 3 consecutive shots, it will be already better than it was before we sent it in. So here we go. And right off, yeah. That is unfortunate. There it goes. And there's no way that's related to limp wristing. I'm holding it solid. I'm not even aiming. I'm holding it solid. That last shot, you notice I had control of the grip on the front to give it a good solid foundation. That is in no way related to not holding it firmly. If you have to hold it firmer than that to get it to shoot, then you need to be a robot or something, because that's... Okay, so let me try another magazine full here of MagTech. Again, this was the worst offending ammo before, so it's the one I expected it to have the most trouble with, and it is. On a positive side, the slide is actually a little easier to pull. I'm not noticing that's a problem. And it is loading that first round when you release the slide. And I can already notice the top of the barrel is not taking the scrape marks that the old barrel was taking. Yep. Again, we're having trouble. Okay. So now I can't release the magazine. Yeah. Okay, so we will say it does not like MagTech. I don't know how many malfunctions that was, but it managed to fire 7 rounds. So I suppose for practice that is not a very good ammo to run. And I'm sorry, if I can't find a reasonably good practice ammo to run through this gun, I don't care if this is the most reliable gun in the world with carry ammo. It's useless. Unless you just want to spend $1 a round practicing. You've got to be able to run practice ammo through a gun. So let's try this and see what happens. Better. Okay, maybe that was me. I'll give it that. Still not a pleasant experience to try and eject the magazine when it's jammed. Okay. That's better. This is PMC ammo. If I remember right, it was slightly more expensive than the MagTech, but not outrageously so, not enough to turn me off from practicing with it. And to be fair, they did not say that they replaced the internal springs. It looked very clean to me. So there's a possibility that they did replace that spring and it would require breaking in again. So we're going to go through this PMC. And then we'll go back to the MagTech again. And if that is still sensitive to the MagTech, then the most I can say is that it's just an ammo sensitive gun. Better. Immediately, those scrape marks on the top of the barrel that were building up, that I was wondering if they were normal, I can now tell you without a doubt they were not normal. They are not reappearing on this barrel. By the time we had wrestled 50 rounds through it before we repaired it, you could already see those scratches on top of the barrel. If you look at the previous video, you can see what I was talking about. So now that we've got 50 rounds through, let's go back to the MagTech and see what happens here. Now it's possible this is 95 grain. This is this is a little lighter. This is 90 grain. If it's having problems, it should be with this. Yeah, I was looking to see if the velocity was on here somewhere. I think it's about 950 feet per second is what that is advertised at. So maybe this is a hotter round, I don't really know. But this is 950 feet per second muzzle velocity. Oh. So what we have is a gun that's ammo sensitive. Ran that time. Okay, seems to want to run 4 in a row. We'll give it 4. Basically this is break-in, so it is possible they put a new recoil spring in. Seems to be getting a little bit better. Go back to trying 5 again here. Good. Still not out of the woods here. Okay, it is running better. It's still ammo sensitive. I have to say that the PMC ran in it well. If that was my first impression of it and I had picked it up, then I'd probably be happy with it to this point. The MagTech is a little bit sensitive. Maybe with some more break-ins, some more running, it will limber up a little bit and start to run the MagTech a little better. Basically what I do when I break one in is I will run, before I would ever rely on it as an everyday carry, I like to run about 500 rounds of practice ammo through it, the gun. Doing what you saw there is break-in shooting. I'm not really aiming, just shooting at the dirt bank. Once I have 500 rounds through it, I will go with some carry ammo. Probably run 20-30 rounds of carry ammo that I plan to carry in it. That's important. Don't buy one brand and then practice with it and then carry something else. I'm partial to Hornady for the carry ammo, so I would buy what I wanted to carry and I would run a box through it, make sure that it functioned flawlessly, and then is when I would consider to start carrying the gun. So this one, you know, it's kind of a 500 trouble-free rounds. This had 250 rounds through it when it went to the factory. They certainly were not trouble-free. Now we've had 50 trouble-free rounds through it, so I would need more PMC. But the idea is to build a trust in the gun, which right now I just, you know, based on its history and to this point, I simply just don't have the trust in the firearm yet. But we'll see how it goes. We'll do another report on it as we break it in, run it a little bit more. Hopefully we can get real comfortable with it and it'll break in and run well. If I find out the MagTech is the only thing it has trouble running, you know, I'm okay with it. It happens. You know, it's just something to be aware of. But it really likes the PMC, so stay tuned and you'll see this little guy again as we continue to run with it.
So yeah, Comrade Snuggles gets sent to KFC if you don't comment, rate or subscribe. That is all, isn't it, Comrade?